What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title down below, I am doing something a little bit different. As I previously stated and mentioned in one of my old videos that I'm going to show somewhere in here, I said, I wanted to start doing some film reviews and do a little segment, just give my perspective. So I decided, why not do that? I love me a good old film, and I love to talk about, what I feel about it, what I think about it, what some things that I would have changed or what I would have done or what I think the audience would have wanted to see more. And yeah, so I decided to do as my first video from my perspective of a film review was the Tyler Perry film that just came out 2 days ago called Culpa. And honestly, I wasn't gonna watch the movie because no shade to Tyler Perry. I haven't watched any of his movies that he's put out in the last 4 to 5 years. I just don't know. I just feel like his films that he would put out or have put out in the last couple of years have not been the greatest. So I was like, you know what? Let me just check this one out. Kelly Rowland is in it. So, and she's been promoting this movie this whole entire this past week. So I'm like, let me watch it and see. And I'm glad I watched the film. It was a cute little film. So I'm going to just give you my opinion about it, okay? And we're gonna get started. So the title is Mea Culpa, I believe. And honestly, I was like, all right, the title itself is very different. I never heard of that word or saying before. So I was like, let me look it up to see what's the meaning behind it. And this is what I discovered of the meaning. And yes, I took notes because it's going to help me remember. So the definition of this title, the definition of this word Mea Culpa is through my fault, an interjection of a omission, a wrongdoing, or a expression of guilt over something you've done. Now, that all makes sense now why the film is called what it's called, because that's basically what the film is about. So we're going to get into the characters, okay? You have Mia, who's played by Kelly Rowland, of course. You have Kyle, I don't know his real name, but I know he played Jordan and Sisters last season, and he's in NCIS. And you have Zaire. I don't know how to pronounce his real name, but his name is, I think, Trevedant Rhodes. I'm horrible with names, but y'all know who he is. He played in Tyler Perry's show Loving You Is Wrong. He played in, I believe, Moonlight and People versus Billie Holiday. Okay. Then you have Ray, who was Cal's brother, who was AKA the president in the Have and Have-Nots. Okay. Then you have Ray's wife, who is Keyshawn, aka Miss Mississippi from P-Valley, okay? Then you have the mother-in-law, don't know who she is. She must be a new actress. And you have Jimmy, aka Tyreek from Sister. I think his name is Renato Lee. I'm horrible, so we're gonna put the name right somewhere in here. And you have either Miss Veronica, no, you have Renee Grant, I believe. What's the name? Oh, excuse me. Renee Carter, aka Veronica from the Have and Have-Nots. And that's pretty much the whole cast. So it's not a lot of people. It's like 7 characters, which I like. Simple, short. We already know who the characters are. It just makes sense. Okay. So now that we know the characters and who they are, the first scene, the film starts off with Mia and her husband Cal in a therapy session discussing the issues that they have in a marriage. Okay. And Mia's a lawyer. She's working. She's a defense attorney, actually. Her husband's not working. He hasn't been working in the past 8 months because of his drug addiction. So yes, he's a drug addict. He was a former drug addict / alcoholic. Okay, so he got fired from his job because his job found out about his drug addiction. And his family doesn't know that he got fired. So his family is thinking that he is taking care of the household and that Mia is just being a kept woman. And that's another issue in their marriage, because he's not telling his family what the real issue is, what's really going on. He's letting his family just keeping attacking Mia. And He's a mama's boy. And his mother is very disrespectful. And that's an issue. So there's plenty of reasons why Mia ain't really feeling her husband. Because he's obviously a liar, enabler, okay? And he's not protecting her. His issues with her is that you always working, you always trying to lawyer me, and I'm your husband. And she's like, well, if you would have had a job and wouldn't be lying to me, it wouldn't be a problem. Because she found out about her husband having a drug addiction by her private investigator, Jimmy. That's how she was able to find out everything. Okay? So the foundation of their marriage was already based off lies. Because you couldn't be honest and tell your wife what was going on. Okay? So they're sitting down, and in the middle of their therapy session, he gets a text message. It's like a reminder of, you know, that it's his mother's birthday and it's her dinner that night. And he has to leave the therapy session early. So he's saying to the therapist and says, oh, I have to leave. I gotta go. It's my mother's dinner tonight. And pretty much it's like more important in this session. Mia's looking at her husband like, really? He said, you know, like, why you acting like you don't know? Like, don't do that. Like, you know, my mother is dying of cancer. Like, and you know, I feel guilty because I've been around her. I've been there for her. And she ain't really saying much. And he was looking at like, as if he was expecting her to leave with him. And she's like, no, you could go. I'm going to stay right here. He's like, really? You going to just leave me hanging like that? She didn't really respond. So he's about to leave. Their therapist is like, does he do this all the time? She's like, yes, all the time. So later on that night, you see Mia walking into the restaurant. And that's when we first see Ray, who is a prosecutor attorney. You see Ray's wife, and you see the mother-in-law. Instantly, I just got bad vibes from the brother and the mother-in-law, okay? The mother-in-law is giving very much big Karen energy all day, every day. And I found it very interesting. Like, how are you giving all this big Karen energy? It was just weird because it kind of felt like right off the rip, you just didn't like your son's wives because they were chocolate. Because another issue that is briefly mentioned in this film is a girl named Jenna who happens to be Cal's friend. And she's kind of like in the way of Mia and Cal's marriage. And Mia feels like, why you not checking your mother, checking your friend who you know wants you and who you know your mother wants you to be with, and not saying fall back and respect my marriage. Jenna's at this dinner, okay? So when Mia arrives, okay, the mother's like, oh, hello, look who arrived. The queen has arrived, being very sarcastic. And Mia's just kind of like not paying her no mind. And then you see Jenna. And she tells Jenna like, hi, how are you? All nice. She said, I want you, Cal, to sit next to me. You know, you, Mia, don't mind if you sit over there, right? And you, Jenna, you sit next to him. I'm like, yo, you're bugging. You're disrespectful. And you, Cal, just standing there not checking your mother and saying mine. Like, yo, you're doing the most. I'm like, you, Cal, you weak. You straight up weak. Like, yeah, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. And it gets a little worse, okay? As they're sitting down, right, Cal presents his mom with a gift. It's a Rolex. Now, Mia looking at her husband like, where you getting this from? Where did you get this from with no money? Now, Cal can feel his wife looking at him, and he is not trying to look at her at all. I said, oh, yeah, she about to go off for you, okay? So after, you know, the dinner was over, Mia and Charisse is outside talking, and that's when the Zaire's name is first mentioned. And they're briefly discussing, you know, about his case and, you know, his paintings and portraits. And that's when Ray walks into the conversation and listens to what they're saying. And, you know, basically says to me and Charisse with this kind of condescending, weird energy he was giving. And he said, you know, I've been telling my wife, like, I don't like the portraits. I want her to throw out the paintings, but she always spend money. And it was how he said it. It's like, okay, I get it. You so happen to be the prosecutor attorney for this Zaire case, but it sounds like there's something else going on, because the way you are feeling so strong about your hatred for this man, and you going based on, okay, maybe evidence of facts or whatever, is one thing. But it's a whole nother thing when you kind of have this underlining hate. And me paying attention to details of every little thing from characters, I already knew right then and there, like, yeah, something is up. Like, he's sneaky. He gonna have something to do with something that's going on with Zaire, or probably gonna sabotage this case or something, because it was giving that. Okay, so after he kind of try to like want to be a little intimidating, you know, you see Kyle and Mia, they, you know, getting into a car driving, and it's really awkward, it's quiet. Kyle kind of knows like he messed up, and Mia ain't really feeling at him. Mia's looking in the window like this, and Kyle cutting his eye. He's trying to make conversation like, you know, what's going on with this Bluetooth, and why this Bluetooth not working? Mia looking at him like, yo. And she just touches the Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth comes on, and there's like little music in the background. And Mia asks him, so where did you get this money from to buy your mother a Rolex? He's like, oh, I sold your piano. She said, wait, you sold my piano? He was like, yeah, I sold your piano. You know, I brought it, so it's mine. She said, oh, that's what we're doing. So what's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. Oh, that's what we're doing. He said, can we not argue? Like, please, not today, not tonight. She's like, whatever. Then you see, the next day you see Mia. She's in her office. She's looking into the Zaire case because Zaire wants her to be her wants her to be his defense attorney. So she's looking into the case, you know, just figuring out what's going on. She decides to go to his loft to talk to him. I have a conversation and pretty much ask him, like, you know, what's going on? What's this? Tell me your version of what happened. And how did you meet your ex-girlfriend, Heidi? So he tells her, like, you know, he met her when he was on vacation in Mexico, and she was his waitress. They ended up, you know, vibing, connecting with each other. They were dating for 6 months. She loved taking selfies, and then they broke up. And she was like, really? Okay. She said, well, there's evidence that show that there was blood on her skull, and blood was seen in one of the paintings in the house. So what else is going on? Like, how did that get into the house? He was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, all I know was, you know, she didn't like that I broke up with her, and she got upset. And Mia was like, oh, okay. She said, so what is this about a video? And Mia shows Zaire a video that she made saying that if something happens to me, it was my ex-boyfriend who did it. Now, she was kind of frantic in this video, and that was another thing. That was another thing that didn't make sense to me, because how do we go from allegedly Heidi's upset that you broke up with her, and then she makes a whole video? I'm like, yeah, that don't make any sense to me, but okay. And he was like, I don't know, but I didn't do it. So she says, well, there's a witness for the prosecution side by the name of Renee Carter. Does that name sound familiar to you? Who was she to you? He said, oh, you know, she was someone that was that helped me get on my feet. I met her. She's an artist as well. She's an art gallery. She owns an art gallery. She helped me, you know, pretty much get on my feet. And then, you know, she felt like I betrayed her. And, you know, we had sex one time, and that was it. And she was like, oh, okay. She said, so what's the issue with that? She was like, I don't know what the issue is besides that. So after that, after they had their first introduction, you know, so she could kind of feel like, you know, what's going on, hear his side of the case, she goes home and she, you know, reads more into the case in the kitchen. And Kyle walks in the kitchen and seeing that she's sitting down, you know, reading a case. And as he kind of peeks over her shoulder, he sees it's the Zaire case. And he snatches the paper out of her hand, saying, you're not taking this case. She's like, what? He was like, you heard what I said. You're not taking this case. She's like, oh, really? Oh, really? Now I said, Miss Mia, I hope you're not gonna let this man talk to you like that and have him tell you what you can and what you're not gonna do when he not working. I said, you better not walk away, because it looked like as if she was gonna walk away. And I said, you better not. And she sure did not disappoint me, okay? Because she would walk right to that drawer, okay? And just was slamming bills, and was like, who gonna pay these bills? I either take this case or we're gonna be broke. He ain't saying nothing. I said, I know that's right. Best way to shut it down is showing proof of, oh, you think you running something? You can't run nothing. You have no job. Okay? So the next day, she's at work again, looking more into the case. And, you know, one of her employees comes into office to let her know about something. And she asks, oh, can you do something for me? Because, you know, with the Zaire case. The guy is like, oh, you taking on the Zaire case? She said, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but most likely I am. And the guy was like, okay. So she goes home. And when she walks in, she sees Ray, the mother-in-law, and Cal. And yet again, this is another example of how Cal ain't it, okay? Cal couldn't even look at his wife and tell his wife, like, I invited them. He had this guilty look on his face. Guilty look on his face. Me looking at him like, ain't this something else? So she's like, okay. She sits down. Ray looking at her, wanna intimidate her, and asks her, like, you know, how's everything going? You know, at work. She said, everything is good, you know. And he was like, any new clients? And she looks at him like, yeah, I'm thinking about, you know, there's someone I'm looking into. I'm thinking about taking the Zaire case. And he looks at her, he's like, no, you're not. She's like, excuse me? He said, you're not taking that case. He said, because, you know, I'm running for mayor. And how would it look, my sister-in-law taking on a case that I'm a prosecutor? That's conflict of interest. She's like, well, I don't really know what to tell you. And here goes the mother-in-law. You ain't taking that case. You in this family and we have a say, and you're not taking that case. And she's like, oh, really? And she looking at her, the mother looking at her like, my son is taking care of everything, so no. So she looking like, oh, okay. She said, you know, well, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. She said, now I know. I'm going to take on this case. I said, I know that's right. I know that's right. You see, you thought you was going to check her. And you don't even know that your son is kept. Okay? You don't know that. So, you ain't running nothing, mother-in-law or Ray. Okay? So, the next day, Ray and Mia is speaking to a judge about the case. And saying like, you know, Mia saying, you know, I'm taking on this case. I know this may be conflict of interest, but I would like to know if it's okay if I take on this case, basically. The judge is like, yeah, he said, but if something goes wrong, it's on you. I'm like, really? That's what we're doing? I'm like, whatever. Okay. So, the next day she goes back to Zaire's house to talk to him more about the case. And he ain't really saying much of it, but the same old, same old. She's like, all right, I'll talk to you the next day. And we'll see what's going to happen. That's when the next day you see Jimmy. Jimmy, a.k.a. Tyreek. So she calls Tyreek, a.k.a. Jimmy, and who is a private investigator and also one of her closest friends. He's like a brother to her. And she asks him, like, you know, I want you to go to Mexico, see if you get some information from the family, of Heidi's family, and just get back to me. And he was like, okay, sure, no problem. Then she says to him, like, so what my husband doing? Because I know you still be following him, because, you know, that's how she was able to find out that her husband was a drug addict, because of Jimmy. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, I know you still following him. And then he ends up telling her, yeah, he just chilling out, doing nothing too much. She's like, I know you still following him. So he says, all right, I'll go to Mexico, let you know any updates. once Jimmy arrives in Mexico, he calls Mia and says, I found the most strangest things, you know. And she was like, what? He said, there's no trace of her. There's like no birth certificate. There's like no family connection, no contact of nothing indicating that she lives in Mexico, was from Mexico or nothing. She was like, oh yeah, that's weird. She was like, thank you. She said, just stay there and let me know if there's more information you can find. He was like, all right, cool, I'll let you know. So once Jimmy comes back from Mexico, they both go to Zaire's house. And that's when you see both Mia and Jimmy kind of questioning Zaire about trying to get more information out of him, because they're trying to figure out why there's no trace, no evidence, like there's no trace of Heidi in Mexico. So Jimmy kind of like taunts Zaire by like asking him questions and saying things like, well, you know, Heidi was discussing, you know, your sexual life and how you like rough sex. And he was just being very detailed, describing like what she was saying, like how you like it rough, how you like to pull her hair. And he was saying that to get a reaction out of him, because he was low-key testing Zaire to see how he was going to react under pressure. And Zaire kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. She liked it, I liked it, we both like the same thing. So I don't know why she's making it seem like as if I was only doing that to her when she liked it too. And Jimmy was like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be something, I don't know. And he keeps taunting him. And he's cool. He's cool. So after Jimmy finished kind of like taunting him, right? Jimmy's like, all right, I'm gonna go back to Mexico, see if I find anything, and I get back to you, let you know. And he, you know, leaves. Mia tells Zaire, I'll be right back. And she talks to Jimmy and want to get, you know, his input and opinion of what you think about him. You think he's lying? You think he's telling the truth? And Jimmy basically says, like, you know, I think he's a psychopath. I think he knows something, but I think he's telling the truth. He said, I can't really describe it. Mia's like, yo, that's crazy, because that's what I'm thinking too. And yeah. So it's the next day again. And Mia is at Zaire's house, talking to him and pretty much prepping him about the things that he can't do. Like he can't get high. He can't, anything to not jeopardize his case. So she wants to know more information about what kind of sexual interactions you had with Heidi, as well as Renee, who is going to be a witness for this case. So she can kind of connect the dots to get the feel, so how she can go about the case. And Zaire's kind of like stressed out a little bit. He's like, it's the same thing. He said, I don't know why, you know, they making it seem like as if like I just hurt women. He said, he's saying how he loved to please women and how he would never hurt women like that. He said, so I don't know why it's being alluded to that. He's getting frustrated. He's like I'm stressed out. He said, no one's taking my calls, like at all. He said, I have no one to talk to. Everyone think I did something. He said, and I didn't. This was the first time I've seen him show some type of frustration for the first time. And I was like, oh, you a little frustrated, aren't you? So Mia's kind of like looking at him like still trying to be professional. Like a part of her low-key feels bad, but she's kind of like, yeah, so I don't really know what to tell you. Like that was Mia's energy and vibe. And this is when things get a little gray area, okay? Because Zaire asks Mia, you know, like, how's your marriage? Like, you know, you should understand, like, what's going on. She's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. And he gets quiet, and she's looking at him like very intensely. And you can tell she's starting to feel bad. And she decides to tell him, well, as we're talking about this case and we're mentioning about Renee, she said I can relate to Renee a lot because I am taking care of someone and they're not treating me right. So I can understand why she's feeling the way she's feeling with you. And yeah, so that's when Zaire's looking at her all intense, you know, and he's like, if you had to describe the color of your, he said, if you had to describe your marriage in one color, what color would that be? She's like, Zaire, I'm not doing this with you. He's like, relax. I said, oh. He's like, yo, relax. I said, oh my goodness. This is what we're doing. Okay. She says, she closed her eyes. She says, blue. He was like, okay. Then he takes her hand, right? And puts the paint on her hand. And that's when the hands are like locked in like this. And he gets a paint and traces and guides her hand to make a little wave. I said, oh, this is what we're doing. We're getting a little connection, a little too close here, aren't we? And I said, oh dear. And he's like, at this point, behind her a little too close. And because of that, she's like, she realized like, oh, what's going on? She's like, I gotta go. I have to leave. And he's like, what you, like, he's like, kind of like, what you mean? And she looking at her phone. She's like, dang. She's like, I'm about to be late. She said, I'm about to get home late. I live far. Now, I'm like, now, man, why are you saying that after this little connection y'all just had, knowing he's going to ask you where you live and you know he going to offer you to take you home? Like, you know what you're doing. You setting yourself up. Stop. Stop, okay? And he was like, I could take you home. She was like, no, I'm good. He was like, I could take you home. He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. After they go back and forth about if he's gonna take her home now, she's like, fine. So she follows, so they leave together and they at the parking lot and he has his motorcycle and she's looking at him like, now I know you're not about to have me get on this motorcycle with you. And he's like, what's the problem? She's like, first of all, I have a skirt on. Like, no, that's not gonna work, okay? And he was like, you'll be fine. All you gotta do is hike up your skirt, get on behind me. I'm like, what? You're doing too much. Inappropriate behavior. Talking to your lawyer. And he was like, no, you get in my car. He said, I have a car, you get in. And she's like, yeah, no. She said, my Uber's here. And she walks away and leaves. And she gets into an Uber and she's on a train and she's on her way back home and she's just having flashbacks of her and Zaire little close. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is giving the movie Addicted. That's exactly what this film reminds me of. Y'all go watch it if y'all never seen it. So the next morning, she's in the bathroom getting ready to go, getting dressed. Kyle's in the bathroom, you know, brushing his teeth. He sees her, he cuts her eye at her, and she's just not paying him no mind. This is how you can tell, and this is how you know they're so disconnected, because she ain't even thinking about this man. She ain't even thinking about nothing he's doing. Like, he's just there. He he walks over to her and he asks her, do you remember when we was on our honeymoon? And she was like, yeah. He was like, do you think we're gonna ever like get back to that again? And she wasn't really saying much. And he was like, I hope we do. And he was trying to be nice to her and be romantic. And she really wasn't like paying him no mind, because you want to know why she wasn't paying him no mind? Because she kept thinking about Zaire. I said, oh my goodness, Kelly. I mean, Mia, oh my goodness, you are gone. You are gone already. I said, poor Cal, but not poor you. Later on that day, wow, Mia walks in work and she sees her husband and with flowers. And this is where I'm confused, because you just saw your husband that morning and then a few hours later you walking into the office as if you just got there and he has flowers. I'm like, so like there was what happened between the time you left the house and he was still at the house and you arrived at work and he was there before you, and this was giving like he would surprise you to lunch, because that's what it gave. That's really what it was, because then you see Zaire walk up behind her and touch her waist, and the husband kind of caught on like, oh. I saw, oh, Zaire, you're bold. You do not care. And I was like, this is it. This is some toxic energy. And this when Kyle want to be all macho, man, looking like kissing Mia's forehead, and like saying how he don't like this. And he peeping the energy between them two. Now I ain't gonna lie, when I was watching that, I was laughing so hard because the look on Kyle's face was like he was trying too hard, and you had Zaire being like paying him no mind, like no mind at all. Like actually this whole film, I felt like Zaire was just high the whole entire time, except for one scene, okay? But I just felt like he was just so high because he was so mellow. And Kyle leaves, he's all upset, and Zaire was like, that's your husband? And she's like, yeah. And he's just like, he said, yeah, okay. He kind of disregarded that and just said, yeah, I'm not feeling this, me meeting you in the office. So, like, you need to come back to the law. She was like, well, I'm trying to set some boundaries. He said, nah, I get what you're saying. But he said, I don't feel me. He said, I feel judged. I feel everybody looking at me. Everybody in suits and stuff, suits and ties. He said, I ain't feeling that. And she's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. He was like, well, if you still he said, if you want to still be my lawyer and you want to help me win this case, you need to be me at my law. I said, who you talking to? Who you talking to? It was like let's go. I was like, oh, you getting a little too comfortable after a little scene we had, which really wasn't nothing because all we did was paint together. I was like, you're doing a little too much there, Zaire, but okay, to the energy. Now that's the energy, Kyle, you need to be giving, but you can't give that because you I don't want to use the word weak, but you're a punk, unfortunately, okay? So Zaire, at least he was like, either you meet me at my loft or I don't know what to tell you. So she acting like she ain't gonna do it. She act like she ain't gonna go to the loft. And what you see next, she's at the loft again, okay? When she shows up, this time, the energy is way different. Way different than the energy he was giving her at the office, because he's all apologetic. So, you know, I want to apologize for how I was talking to you. He said, honestly, you know, I'm going to be real honest with you. Like, you know, I find you attractive, and I know you find me attractive, and I just wanted to put it out there. And she was just like, she said, I can't do this with you. I can't. She said, this is inappropriate. She said, I need to set boundaries. She said, I'm married. And he was at this point getting a little frustrated with her. He was like, yeah, I don't think you need to be my lawyer. He said, how are you supposed to be honest and help me win this case when you can't even be honest with me about your feelings you have for me, the attraction you have for me? He said, I see how you look at me. He said, I see how when I look at you, your breathing changes. I was like, oh, he walking close to her as he's taunting her. He was like, I know it. You feel it too. And she just kept saying, no. Now, this is when I side-eyed him. I'm like, so you acting like a little boy because you ain't getting your way? You not liking that the fact that she's trying to respect her marriage, which is what she's supposed to do? Even because you know deep down she's having these inappropriate thoughts about you, you're going to catch a little attitude? Like, I was like, boy, you acting like a little boy. Because you want to know why I'm saying that? He throws a tantrum and tells her, you need to leave. You can't be my lawyer if you can't admit to your feelings. I'm like, what kind of manipulative stuff is this? So you mad at me because I'm not going to admit to what you're saying is true. So you're going to tell me, oh, I can't be a lawyer? Like, we got bigger fish to fry. You're accused of murder. Like, come on now. And I'm like, oh, you a master manipulator. Toxic energy, okay? He tells her, let's go. Like, leave. Because he's like, at this point, he was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go. She said, you can't do nothing reckless. You can't smoke. You can't be seen in public. He said, I know. He said, I'm good. Let's go. Come on, get your stuff. I said, oh, you're doing it again. You're giving the toxic, masculine, like, territorial energy. Like, it's giving like, who you think you're talking to? Like, this ain't the energy. I am your lawyer. I'm trying to help you. You need me. You need me. And it makes me think, now that I'm thinking about it, it really has me thinking that he purposely seeked out her because, one, of course he find her attractive, and because he has this infatuation of women, because he sleeps with half the women he meets, he probably thought he could ease his little way into her. I mean, with her. But that, anyway, anyway. She leaves. But she when he tells her to leave, she leaves. But she decides she gonna follow him. I said, now, why are you about to do this? Why are you about to put yourself through this? Knowing what you may find is gonna be very intriguing. It's gonna make you want him more. She follows him. They're in the parking lot. And he's walking in a direction where there's like a red light. I said, oh, this is giving very much red light special. You know, when there's red lighting, you know what that means, okay? She's walking behind him, and he low-key knows that she's following him. I feel like he did that intentionally to taunt her, to bring her in, and that's what he did, because next thing you know, when she walks in, she sees a bunch of people and doing some different activities. It was getting very Pandora box 2. I said, oh dear, this is going to be very interesting, and it's going to get worse. She's seen what's going on, and at this point she acts like she's like scared, like, oh my goodness, and leaves, right? So as she's leaving, she's in the car, and she gets a call from Jimmy. And Jimmy says, like, you know, check your phone. And she sees it's a picture of Kyle and Jenna going into a hotel room. So now she's thinking and feeling like, oh, he's cheating on me. This is the confirmation I need, because I feel like deep down inside, she was trying to find a reason to cheat on Kyle. Because instead of her, you know, going home to talk to her husband and have a conversation and communicate her feelings, she decides to go back to the loft, assuming that Zaire is going to be there, because he was there. And she walks into the house, walking up the stairs. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's she about to do? A part of me felt like I knew what she was going to do, but it was the hesitation for me that made me feel like maybe she's not. But it was really giving like she's going to do what I think she's going to do. But the thing that threw me off was when she was walking up the stairs, she sees Zaire standing, right? And he's standing there. He's practically almost naked. Okay? And she apologized to him. And as she's apologizing to him, here comes a naked white lady walking up to him. I said, oh, your addiction is really bad, isn't it? Okay? And Mia's kind of like thrown off in shock, like, oh, okay. And she kind of like rushes to leave a little bit. And as she's walking out, she keeps turning her head, looking back at him, and is seeing the girl, you know, giving action. And Mia's like shocked. I think she's low-key turned on. And I was like, oh my goodness, Mia. No. But I'm like, all right, you leaving. So you didn't do nothing wrong. You leaving, good. Oh, I spoke too soon, because she comes back into the house, okay? She comes back to the loft, okay? And she sees Zaire and a white lady, you know, in bed. The white lady kind of goes and leaves. Zaire gets up and stands, walks over to Mia, and they start kissing. I said, oh, Mia, no, why did you do that? I said, oh my goodness, Pandora's box has opened and entered the chat, entered the room. And then the next thing you know, they, you know, do what they're doing. And then after they do what they're doing, okay, she wakes up and see a portrait painting of her in the ceiling. Now, mind you, I think it was a few times, maybe the the scene, 2 scenes before that, when she's at the loft, he was painting something that looked like her, and actually ends up being a portrait of her, because after they finish, you know, doing what they're doing, she sees the portrait. The portrait is very pretty, by the way. So after that, right, this the next morning, she's walking into her office. She's walking into work, and she sees her husband and her sister-in-law. Now, obviously, they were scared, nervous, worried about her because she wasn't home. She wasn't answering anyone's calls. Now, she's not feeling guilty what she did. She's not feeling guilty at all, because even after they, you know, did what they did, there was a scene with them, and again, where she was laying on the tub, and Zaire's washing her, talking, and they're kissing. I'm like, so this is going to be an affair? I said, oh, Mia, you have definitely crossed the lines, the blurred lines, and it's not gonna, it's, everything is changing. So once she sees Cal and her sister-in-law, Charisse, she kind of like don't have a care in the world. Because she kind of was like already on this energy, like, you don't have the right to give me the energy that I think you're about to give me because of what I know, and that you don't know what I know. And Cal was like, where are you? We was very sick about you. She's calmly says, I was staying at a hotel. He said, hotel? He said, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this. And she kind of looked at him like, you don't like it? And that's when Charisse, the sister-in-law, says, we was worried sick because, you know, we couldn't get in contact with you because we was at the hotel, because, you know, Cal's mother was sick and she wasn't feeling well. So we visited her in the hotel room to see how she was doing. The look on Mia's face was like, I said, yeah, you can't go back now. You already did it. You already did it, and you know you just screwed up. You know it at this point. And now all of a sudden her energy changes. And we're like, I'm so sorry, honey. Like, can we talk? I apologize. He was like, nah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go home. And after that, she goes back to the loft to talk to Zaire and pretty much break things off with him. What the little situationship they had, as well as telling him, I can't be your lawyer no more. My husband knows, and this is going to mess with my reputation. I got too much to lose. Zaire so calmly says, no, I understand. I understand. Don't worry about it. Like, I got you. I won't tell nobody. He said, but I still want this to work. Like, I still want us to keep doing what we're doing. She's like, I can't. You know, here's going to be a new lawyer who knows everything. And she rushes out and leaves. Later on that night, Cal and Mia goes to Ray's house where the family is there. Right off the rip, the energy is off, which already let me know that the family knows something. Ray knows something. The mother-in-law knows something, because they just look at her like, I always look at her, but with this time, they look at her like, you just nasty, you just dirt. And Mia kind of has an inkling that like Ray and the mother-in-law know something is up, because when they're in the living room, Ray's living room, Ray looks at Cal and tell Cal to come over here. Cal walks over, and Ray whispers something in Cal's ear. And Ray looks at Mia and says to Mia, tell him where you've been. Tell him where you was at last night. And Cal looks at her like, you got to tell me the truth. Mia looks at him, the truth? Like, Mia's face was like, I dare you. I dare you try to make me look bad because you want to talk about telling the truth. So before she could even kind of like rat him out, he decides, I'll beat you to the punch. And he tells his family, the truth is, Mia's been taking care of me. I lost my job 8 months ago because of my drug addiction. And yeah, Mia has been taking care of me. Ray was like, what you mean? And they kind of like, the family kind of like, yeah, okay, like, that's messed up. You should have told us. That was the energy, but it really wasn't the energy, because it was like, we had bigger issues to talk about. because Ray tells Mia again, you want to tell me where you was at last night? And Mia looking at them, and Kyle has this look on his face like, please just tell me the truth. Please just tell me, like, just tell me. Like, he was like, where were you? She was like, I stayed the night at Zaya's house. This is Ray. This is Kyle. What happened? What did you do? And she looks at him like, I'm so sorry. I slept with him. This is Kyle. Like, and I was trying not to laugh because I understood the reaction of the hurt. But knowing what I know after watching this film, I laughed because I'm like, great actor. Great actor. Great actor. I felt that. You had me hoodwinked. I felt that. I felt that. But even then, I was like, you're reacting like you're having an episode. And I'm like, I don't want people to take that the wrong way, because everyone's going to react to situations like this differently. I understood the feeling of hurt, but it was one of those things where it was like, you're putting, it was like you're overacting. It gave me the feel like you're acting like this to put on a performance so that you could hoodwink her and everyone else to make us feel bad. And that's what he did. So the mother-in-law and Ray tells her, get out, get out, get out. And the sister-in-law looks so shocked, like, oh, no, friend. And Mia, she leaves out very gracefully. Charisse follows her, makes sure she's good, and they're talking. She's like, I got you, I'm gonna have you back. Just wanna make sure you can. Ray comes outside and tells Charisse that the kids needs to go to sleep. I said, Ray, go away. Oh, geez, so rude, so annoying, okay? Then the next scene you see, Mia is, I believe, in either Dominican Republic or Mexico, but I believe the Dominican Republic, because she's sitting down at a bar and she's watching the news, and it says that Zaire made a plea deal. And this is another thing that confused me, because it's like, you've been telling Mia you haven't done nothing wrong, and now you have a new lawyer, and now you're making a plea deal. It's just like, it's giving like, okay, you may be guilty. You may be guilty. You may be guilty. And before she goes to Dominican Republic, she meets up with Renee Carter at her gallery and to talk to her, and pretty much get some inside information about, like, what was the relationship between you and Zaire. Now Renee Carter, right? Renee Cartier, whatever her last name is, she gives Veronica, giving that energy like, oh, you poor little naive little girl, because she could already tell you became one of his girls, and you're not coming to speak to me as a defense attorney. You're coming because you want to get information to see if you're different than all the other women, including myself. And poor thing Mia, you was very highly disappointed, because once Renee got into the details of their relationship, everything that Renee was saying was the exact same thing that Zaire was doing with Mia. And particularly when it came to asking Renee, if you had to choose a picture, or choose a color of what your marriage was, what your marriage is, would you describe it? She said blue. Did the whole scene with the waves, and her and them painting blue waves, having a portrait, waking up the next day after they've just finished doing what they're doing, with a picture in the ceiling of her. The same thing that Renee was telling Mia was the same exact thing that Zaire did with Mia. So at this point, Mia is like, I've been bamboozled. Okay, so this was before she went to DR. And this was, I believe, and at this moment, May was like, yeah, like, this is done. This is like, whoa. Yeah, this is done. So May goes to Zaire's house, Zaire's loft, right? And he was just like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, so this is way before she went to DR, way before she went to Ray's house to tell Kyle the truth. This was a little bit after they finished, you know, after they fair kind of got a little started. So once she found out everything she found out with Renee, she goes to Zaire's loft, like I just previously stated, and goes straight, you know, straight to his room and start ripping off her pictures. And as she's ripping off the picture of her, she's seeing more pictures of different women. She's ripping off pages after, like, she keeps ripping pictures off the ceiling. Now, mind you, Zaire is not aware of any of this because Zaire is so happy to see her, or like, hey, babe, and just, you know, trying to talk, like, you know, just talking as if they're in a relationship. And he's not even paying attention to her. Not even paying attention to what she's doing. So as he's talking, she keeps ripping pictures of different women, of the women he slept with, and come across the picture of Heidi. And it says in red blood or red painting, die. And that's when Zaire sees what she's doing, runs up the stairs and like, it's like, what are you doing? She said, I knew it. She said, get off of me. Get off me. She said, I knew it. I knew it. She runs out, getting ready to leave. He said, no, I love you. I'm like, not the I love you card. Another sign of manipulation. I said, Zaire, you not it either. Dang, man. So, she goes to DR, okay? And I just mentioned, you know, she sees the news about him taking a plea deal. And then she, you know, is running around, jogging around the resort, and she sees Heidi. Now, I was like, oh, now this is when things was getting juicy in the film, okay? Because the first half of the movie was like the slow build-up. It was cute, but I was like, okay, this needs to speed up. Second half, I was like, oh yeah, this is getting mighty juicy, because I was like, Heidi? I said, okay, now this is getting too weird. Too weird for me. Okay, so she sees Heidi and she's like, Heidi? And Heidi's like, no, that's not me. And she starts to run. So Mia's running after her, and then Mia attacks her, like kind of like pushes her, knocks her over and pushes her. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is really going on? So this let me know, like, this definitely let me know, like, okay, Zaire is being framed, but by who and why? And what does Heidi have to do with it? Like, what she has to gain, or what she threatened? Okay. Ray calls Charisse and tells Charisse, I need to speak to Ray. This is when things are getting weird. She's in front of the precinct while she's on the phone, and she tells Ray, I just saw Heidi. Heidi's alive. Zaire's been set up. Now, Ray did a good job, you know, acting like he was shocked, was trying to be cool and calm. He's like, what are you talking about? She said, I'm at the precinct talking to the police officers about it, but they say they can't do anything because there's no records shown of her. I said, oh yeah, someone is definitely framing Zaire, because you're in a DR and there's still no trace of this Heidi girl. I was like, yeah, this was set up and Heidi was part of the scheme. It gave that. Now that I'm thinking about how they met, and then she's making a video about if something happened to her, Zaire did it. Yeah, it's giving setup. So now I'm putting the pieces together like, okay, yeah, he's being set up, but by who? And this is when I knew the person who was really part of this scheme, because next thing you know, Ray's energy changes And he's acting like a concerned brother-in-law and says, come home, you know, just come home, you be safe, just come home, we could talk about this and figure this out. I'm like, how you go from you not liking her then to now saying, come home? I'm like, yeah, you got something to do with this. You got something to do with this. Okay. So later on so the next night, she goes home. She goes to Ray's house, right? And when she's at Ray's house, she gets an email from Jimmy. She checks her phone, and after she checks her email, now I forgot what was in the email. I think the email, something like she's been set up, or it was I forgot what was in the email. That's the only thing I forgot what was the email sent, because what was in the email really helped Mia kind of connect the dots a little bit and kind of gave her like an indication like, all right, something's going on. Next thing you know, after she reads the email, she sees like a little red room. She's triggered by the red room. She's triggered. So curiosity takes over. She walks into the room and she sees a portrait of Charisse. I was like, so Zaire slept with Charisse? I said, now this is making sense. This is making sense. Oh, shucks. I was like, ooh. So when she leaves the room, here comes the mother. The mother accidentally bumps into Mia, where her phone accidentally drops, and you see the mother accidentally break Mia's phone. I was like, oh yeah, this is getting good. And I was like, oh yeah, you got something to do with it. Oh, I remember it was in the email. Oh yes. The email was that the mother was lying about having cancer. That was in the email. Now I know. And the mother was all of a sudden be nice to me. I was like, can you help me? You know, on my medication. I was like, you're not doing good at the acting. Like, you can't fool Mia. She's an attorney. You can't fool her. Now, her mind has been clouded by judgment with Zaire, but you cannot really fool her. You can't fool her when it comes to you because she don't like you. She's been peeping your energy from the get-go. So I was like, oh yeah, this is getting weird. And Mia now at this point knows something's definitely weird, because then Ray comes in with a glass of wine. You're giving her a glass of wine now? And the camera zooms in on the drugs that is melting in the wine cup, in the wine. And then you have Ray you have Ray saying you didn't drink your wine. I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, you're not smart, Ray. She's an attorney. You making it so obviously clear you trying to drug her, because the only way a person is going to be that persistent about someone drinking something is if you put something in the drink. And if you are aware of your surroundings, you're gonna know like, yeah, I'm good. She was like, oh, I'm good. And then she's reading the energy, reading the room. She's like, yeah, something's up. So she tells Ray, check your email, please. He checks his email and he's looking at his mom like, Ma, is this true? And Charisse is kind of like confused, like, what is going on? And the mother's looking around, looking at them. She said, yes, it's true. I don't have cancer. Mia's like, and Mia's like, why? Charisse is like, oh my gosh, why? And Mia's like, does Cal know? And he was like, no, Cal doesn't know. I did it for sympathy. And then the mother was like, Ray, tell her. Ray was looking like, he said, it took you this long to find out. And Mia's like, huh? He said, my wife slept with her. My wife slept with him, and you sleep with him. You two dumb. Y'all both dumb. And Charisse was like, Mia was like, she was like, wait. Y'all set this whole thing up? she putting the pieces together. We're like, oh yeah, I set this up. And he was like, yeah, we set this whole thing up. Mia was like, why though? They like, what do you mean? Why? For sympathy. For sympathy. Like, dummy, like, what's wrong with you? Next thing you know, Ray tells Charisse, kill her, stab her. And I'm like, wait. Why you want to do that? I'm like, oh, because you know she don't like you. You know she could probably ruin your career. So it's more like, okay, since you know the truth and it took you this long, you know you're going to have to die. And I was like, oh my gosh. Next thing you know, Charisse has a knife in her hand. And the mother-in-law and Ray's like, stab her. And then Charisse just tells me, like, go. And then Ray, like, just, next thing you know, after Ray punches Charisse, Mia tries to leave, right? And, at this point, because next thing you know, Ray and Mia starts to fighting when she's getting by the door. When she's almost by the door. Now, Ray, they fighting. Next thing you know, Charisse gets up and attacks Ray behind. Then, as Mia trying to leave, here comes the mother, right? She stabs Charisse. I said, oh, dang you. Oh, I felt so bad. I said, dang, you was a real good friend, sister-in-law. I said, dang. Okay, so May is already outside at this point, running. She's running to her car. She's running to get into a car. Okay, as she's getting into the car, Ray's behind her. Okay, once Mia is in the car, all of a sudden, the mother jumps on top of the car. I'm like, wait. I said, this is giving very, like, Swamp type vibes. This is giving very, like, scary, zombie kind of vibe. Not zombie, it was giving, like, how do we go from romance to act to a little thriller to action to this? But it was giving very, like, spooky. So Mia sees the mother on top of the car, and Mia drives while the mother's on top of the car, and drives into a tree, instantly killing the mother, right? And then once she kills the mother, she turns the engine on to see if she can move. The engine's not working, so she's running. Mia's running, right? She's running in the middle of the street, and she sees a car coming because she keeps saying, "Help! Help! Help! Somebody help me!" Now I'm saying you're in the middle of nowhere, okay? I don't think anyone's gonna help you, so I don't know how you're gonna get the help, okay? Once I thought that, right? See a car, and who is it? Cal. And she said, Cal, oh my gosh, she's so frantic. Cal gets out the car, like, what's going on? She said, they try to kill me. He said, calm down. Who? She said, they try to kill me. He said, did you call 911? She said, call 911. He's calling 911, right? And he's calling 911 while he's outside, and she's in the car in the passenger seat because he opens the door for her to get in, and he's on the phone calling 911 to speak to 911, right? He gets in the car and is still on the phone, and he's asking me, what happened? 911 asks him, what happened? But mind you, when he was when he was on the phone outside while me was in the car, he was walking too slow for me. I said, you walking too slow. Your wife is in danger. Why are you walking so slow to get into the car? I said, wait, what is wrong with you? What's wrong? I said, yeah, something weird is going on. He gets in the car, and he asks me, what's going on? Like, tell me, that they want to know. And he's not saying nothing. She's not saying nothing. She just keeps saying, they try to kill me. So the phone gets disconnected, right? And they driving. He's driving, right? And she's seeing that he's driving in the direction of the house. So she's like, why are you driving me to the house? Why are they trying to kill me? Why are you driving me into the house? They're trying to kill me. Then the 911 calls back. I was like, okay. Now, this is when I was like, yes, something is definitely up, right? Because next thing you know, I was peeping the dialogue and how Kyle was talking, and he kept kind of glancing his eye at Mia, and he was kind of like speaking in code. So Mia kind of peeping and looking like something is up. Like, you drive me in the direction of the house after I'm telling you your family is trying to kill me, and you speaking weird. You're speaking in code, like it's giving weirdness. So she touches the Bluetooth, okay, and she hears Ray on the other line telling Cal, bring her back to the house. I kid you not, I was like, I said, oh my gosh. I said, I knew Ray had something to do with Zaire and maybe the mother. I said, not you, the husband. I said, no, oh my goodness. The look on Mia's face was like, she was so shocked and heartbroken. She was like, I was like, what? Mia's like, why? Just tell me why. She said, he said, my mother always told me I was too good for you. He said, you stupid, you dumb, you sleep with him, you and Sharice. He said, I'm the man. He said, you ain't nothing. Pretty much trying to be like, you know, be verbally abusive to her and see how she, you know, a hoe and all this stuff. And how he should have listened to his brother and his mother. And she looks at him. She said, yeah, he was better than you. He said, what? What? She begins to taunt him and saying things that she knows is going to get him real mad. He looks at her and punches her in the face. I was like, oh, so this is what you think you need to be doing. Oh, okay. Mia looks at him. I said, Mia, I already know you're not going to disappoint me. I already know you're not going to disappoint me. I already know you're not going to disappoint me. Next thing you know, you see a truck coming. And she looks at Kyle. She unbuckles his seat belt, and he's looking at her like, what are you doing? And she pushes him so that he could so it could be one of those things where he's killed on impact by a truck driver. And then after that, next thing you see is the news reporter talking about how Ray's been arrested for setting up Zaire, and he's been arrested for several other charges, which means this is not the first time he did it. And then you see the last scene with Zaire leaving the courthouse and paparazzi's outside, and they asking him, like, you know, how you feel to know that you've been indicated, you're innocent. He was like, I feel good. He said, I want to thank Mia Harper. And he was like, I just want to thank her. And he gets in the car. And mind you, Mia's outside in front of the courthouse, wearing all black, trying to be hidden and not seen. And she looks at her phone and she sees Zaire saying, please, like, can you come? Like, I would like to come and see you. And she looks at the phone and begins to walk away and she looks at the phone and throws her phone in the trash and begins to walk away. And that's how the movie ended. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If I had to rate it from a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it an 8 because the cinematography was really, really good. The lighting, the camera, the details of it was really, really good to me. The visuals was good. They were a great looking cast. The fashions was fashioning, the aesthetics, everything. I didn't know the movie was shot in Chicago, but it kind of made sense. Like, once I saw the final scene, I was like, yeah, this is not giving me Atlanta. But yeah, so the movie was cute. I mean, it was, you know, what it was. This is where I have to give my critique and where I feel like things could have been better to make the story flow. Okay, and let me read you what I wrote as my little notes. Okay. I felt like this movie was missing a lot of background information. There was a lot of things that wasn't connecting for me. One was, where was Mia's family? Like, where was her parents? Like, it would have been nice if we would have to, if there was a scene where we would see Mia talking to her parents, talking to her mom, talking to her sister, like a sibling or anything family related about like what she's dealing with in her marriage. And also it'd been nice to see her discuss the things that she was feeling towards pertaining to Zaire. It would have been nice. one. Another thing that I felt like was missing, I feel like we didn't see a lot of Cameron screen time with Zaire. I just felt like there could have been a little bit more scenes. I felt like we could have got a little more background information on why he was the way he was. Not saying he was a bad character, but to me was a very complex character, because you couldn't really feel his energy, like really feel his vibe, if he was genuine or not. And I felt like that kind of made me understand more why Mia didn't respond to his text message. Because if you really look at it from this point of view, right? I won't say Zaire put Mia in this position for her to cheat on her husband. Their marriage was already done, okay? Obviously, it was never genuine. It was never real, right? Mia had the responsibility and decision, and she made the choice to sleep with him. But I feel like deep down she knew that if it was ever to go further, she would have lost herself. She would have lost herself. And I think that was also the message. The point of this film was to not lose yourself in a man. That when you find attractive and the temptation is real, the attraction is there. And also lesson learned to protect your heart and not get hurt again, because what Cal did, you could tell, really messed her up to a point where she didn't trust men, or would not trust men anymore, which is why she threw that phone away. She knew that Zaire would bring nothing but toxicity that she don't need after experiencing what she experienced with her husband. And it makes sense. So I think that message was very clear, which is why I feel like the movie ended the way it did. But a low-key part of me felt like they should just followed up with like 6 months later, so we get to see like where she was now. Even with Zaire, even if it wasn't them together, because it wasn't a romance movie, it really wasn't. But it would have been nice to see a follow-up of where she was. And the Mia Culpa comes into play when as I mentioned the definition of it in the beginning, which is a omission of wrongdoing and expression of guilt over something you've done. The wrongdoing that she did was sleeping with her client. It overclouded her thoughts. She let her emotions take over. It was wrong for her to sleep with him because it hurt the marriage. But did it really hurt the marriage? Because it was never really hurt. The marriage wasn't real. And the guilt was based off what she did. So overall, that's where I felt like the title came about, was really focusing on was her cheating and being emotionally involved with someone she was not supposed to be emotionally involved with. Okay. And another thing I felt like was missing was Heidi. Where was the connection with that? Like, did Ray contact Heidi? Like, it would have been nice if they did a flashback of like Ray being in contact with Heidi and talking to her to, you know, pretty much set Zaire up. Because that, to me, obviously what I really felt like happened. Ray, you know, found a woman and picked a woman because he's been following Zaire's pattern of women, and said, like, you know, we're gonna throw this curveball, you know. And I feel like Heidi set him up, and I feel like Heidi should have been in jail as well. Completely. I feel like it would have been good to see Ray explain why he did what he did, not just to Zaire, but to other people. I feel like that was one. And yeah, I feel like I'm gonna give you my perspective now. I feel like from my perspective, it's important when you're making a film. Now, I'm not trying to act like I know everything, but I'm just saying background information plays a huge part in a film that makes sense. And I know sometimes, you know, in cases you know, a filmmaker probably shot the whole movie, like shot a lot of scenes that probably had a lot of background information, but to cut it in time that you have to fit it, which is, you know, maybe 2 hours most to 90 minutes, you can't really put too much. You can't really give all the details in the film. You gotta take out things that may not need to be there, but it needs to be there. So from my perspective, I felt like the film would have been a little bit better if he had more details of background, of family, the build up. I felt like the movie lacked some build up. I mean, it was getting good towards the end. I feel like the only shocker was the husband. So, I mean, it had great potential. I honestly could see this being a part 2, but it would be pointless because I feel like sometimes film needs to be left to have your own imagination, because you really never know what was the real purpose, and like only the one who wrote the movie. But the movie was cute. I felt like the acting wasn't as bad. I felt like I needed to see more dialogue with Zaire. I felt like, you know, he was just real chill, the person who played him. But yeah, that's my perspective. Those are things I would have changed if I was him. You know, just give more background information to make the story flow and make sense. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was my first time giving my film review. I'm gonna do more things like this, but I'm not gonna be as detailed. I'm gonna just pinpoint the important parts. I just wanted to give it a try and see how this would turn out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications, okay? And I'll see y'all in the next video. Please like the video, because I know when people watch YouTube videos, they just view the whole video. But it's very important and kind, you know, to like the video, you know. So thank you. And follow me on my social media, and peace.